I can tell you from personal experience, if it's not there from the start, it's never going to be there. Regardless, y'all can still co-parent and be good parents at that, but to try and make yourself happy with someone that you're not in love with in that way, I did not realize how much attraction matters in a relationship.
Gypsy has also reportedly been reaching out to Ryan and trying to get back on his good side. But the signs have always been there. We can already guess that Ken probably treats her poorly because Ken looks visibly miserable in every live that they do. In recent interviews with TMZ, he always seems annoyed when he's around Gypsy, right?
I think Gypsy and Ken just subtly told us that they're broken up and they're not together because when they were referencing parenting their child, they kept calling it co-parenting. And when two people in a relationship that have a kid, it's not co-parenting, it's simply parenting. Close sources and family friends are saying that Ken and Gypsy have been in couples counseling together and that he's very mean to Gypsy, which I'm not really sure why you're in couples counseling if you started talking in February and started dating in April. Y'all have only been in a relationship for 6 months, so these red flags are blood red.
Hey Labs, today we're diving deep into a topic that has been making waves. Gypsy Rose Blanchard and her boyfriend Ken Urker are under some heavy scrutiny. If you've been keeping up with their social media presence, you've probably noticed something feels off, and let me tell you, the signs are hard to ignore. Every time they show up online, things just don't seem to add up. From awkward body language to tense interactions, it's becoming painfully clear that what we're seeing on screen isn't exactly what's going on behind closed doors.
And it's no surprise at all that she would try to get back together with Ryan because we all know that this girl can't stand to be alone and bounces from relationship to relationship. And Ryan is a fool if he takes her back because she was using him the first time and she'll be using him again. The first time she was using him because she had to be married in order to live with somebody when she got out of prison, and she did not want to go live with her parents.
So let's get into it and break down all the red flags that are screaming loud and clear. You won't believe the layers to this. Now, it really started unraveling when the couple appeared on the Vial Files podcast with Nick Vial. I mean, from the moment they sat down, it was pretty obvious that not everything was as rosy as they would like us to believe. As soon as Nick asked a seemingly harmless question about their plans for co-parenting once the baby arrives, things took a turn. Gypsy's initial response was typical. Nothing out of the ordinary. But then she dropped a bomb that had everyone doing a double take. And even Ken looked a little blindsided. Gypsy said, and I quote, "I never wanted to make him feel like he's stuck with me, and that's not what I want." Excuse me?
So it's kind of like, I need to know how you react to conflict. What are your parenting goals? What are your parenting skills? Like, what are your thoughts for the future? Those are all really significant conversations. And here we are a month in and we're already pregnant. So, and also I never wanted to make him feel like he is stuck with me. That is not what I want.
If everything was going great in their relationship, why would she even bring that up? I don't know about you, but that comment alone says so much more than what's on the surface. It sounds like Gypsy is dealing with some pretty intense insecurities. If she was confident in Ken's commitment to her, this kind of statement wouldn't even cross her mind, let alone be said out loud in a public setting. It almost felt like she was hinting at something bigger, like maybe Ken's already feeling trapped and is thinking about bailing. The way she said it seems like a defense mechanism, and that in itself is a red flag. And it did not stop there. Gypsy turned directly to Ken and said, "I want you to be with me because you're happy in this relationship. You want this relationship." Hold up. Why does she even need to say that?
That is not what I want. I'm like, I want you to be with me because you are happy in this relationship. You want this relationship.
Also, it has been proven that Gypsy has been consistently reaching out to Ryan and trying to get back in his good graces and his good side. Myself and others that follow Gypsy Rose's story and redemption arc very closely project that Gypsy is going to announce her and Ken's breakup within the next few months or very shortly after she gives birth.
If you're in a solid, healthy relationship, you don't need to verbally remind your partner to be happy with you. The fact that she had to express this in front of everyone tells me that she's not as secure in their relationship as she wants people to believe. It felt less like a comment and more like a plea for validation, not just from Ken, but also from the public. Like she needed reassurance in that moment. And honestly, that's really concerning. What made it even more awkward? Ken's reaction, or should I say lack of one? He did not say anything. No comforting words, no reassurance, nothing. Most people in his position would have jumped in right away, right? Maybe said something like, "Of course I'm with you because I want to be, not just because of the baby." But Ken, he just sat there. Silence. And that silence was louder than anything else in that room. His lack of response said everything we needed to know. It was like he did not care enough to address her insecurities, or maybe he did not want to.
So that's what makes it hard too.
I can tell you from personal experience, if it's not there from the start, it's never going to be there. At least that's how it was for me. So it is something that you do have to prioritize your own happiness, regardless, to try and make yourself happy with someone that you're not in love with in that way. And I thought that it'd eventually grow to be this, wonderful, romantic, fiery relationship. And I never got there. So
either way, it wasn't a good look. Then Gypsy dropped this line: "Just because we have a child together does not mean you are obligated to stay with me. There are lots of options for us. If you don't want this child, I will be the mother. That is my responsibility." Phew, okay, now it's feeling manipulative. Like, was this Gypsy's way of testing Ken? Pushing him to publicly confirm his commitment? The way she laid it out there felt less like an open conversation and more like a guilt trip. And you know what they say? If you have to guilt trip someone into staying, they are probably halfway out the door already. But wait, it gets even more intense. Gypsy followed up with a kicker: "That is your choice if you want to show up." Yikes.
Just because we have a child together does not mean you're obligated to stay with me. There are lots of options for us. If you don't want this child, I will be the mother. That is my responsibility. That's your choice if you want to show up. But when it happens, you're kind of like, gosh, am I really ready for this right now? I don't have concern of any kind that my trauma from the past will affect my ability to parent. Okay.
That's a loaded statement right there. It's almost like she was daring him to prove her fears wrong, but also giving him an out, all while the whole world watched. It did not feel like a healthy conversation between the two people in love. It felt like an ultimatum. And Ken, still nothing. No reaction, no comfort, nada. It's like he completely checked out of the conversation, and you could see the emotional divide growing between them right in front of us. If you think that's all, buckle up, because there is more. The conversation took an even more awkward turn when Nick brought up the topic of marriage. Gypsy was quick to cut Ken off when he started talking about the possibility. She jumps in with her own thoughts, saying she's still going through a divorce and doesn't want to feel obligated to marry him just because of the baby. Fair enough, right? But then she goes on about how she doesn't want him to feel forced into anything. At this point, it's starting to feel repetitive. Why does she keep hammering this point home?
We talk about it for sure.
I have my own opinion about that, which I have shared. Number one, I'm still going through the divorce, which will be finalized sometime this month. Okay. However, I'm not the type of person to say, okay, just because we're having a child means you have to marry me. I'm not the type of person to tell you how to live your life. Like, I don't want to be that person to say, you will marry me. You will, I will move in with you. He has his own life. And if he wants to marry me, he will.
It's like she's trying to convince herself more than anyone else. And let's talk about how Ken just sat there with that awkward grin on his face the whole time. You could feel the tension radiating off him. He did not say a word about whether he wanted to marry her, which only fueled the speculation that he's not as into this relationship as Gypsy seems to want him to be. Gypsy was clearly doing all the emotional labor, while Ken, he was emotionally checked out.
So close to her.
It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, she's only an hour away, so we get to spend a lot of time together. And we get 2 days a week. She's allowed to stay at my house, and then the other 5, she's got to be back home.
Okay. Not bad.
So yeah, it's not too bad. And like I said, it's only an hour drive, so it's not that crazy. And I think the only part that I'm most worried about is in January when the baby's born. Obviously, we'll still have 5 months left of parole. So that's going to be really tricky co-parenting with this with these restrictions.
And speaking of commitment, let's not forget the infamous promise ring Gypsy gave Ken, which made headlines. People thought it was manipulative, like she was trying to tie him down without giving him much of a say. Now fast forward to this podcast, and Ken wasn't even wearing the ring. Coincidence? Or does it not mean anything to him anymore? Either way, it's not a good look. It's like every little thing is adding up to a bigger picture that neither of them wants to admit.
Now, this is really unusual. All this happened after the baby shower, the baby that she doesn't know if it's Ken or Ryan, her husband's baby. So this is all really confusing, and I can't believe TMZ is taking their time to do this story. So what do you guys think? Do you guys find promise rings cringy as an adult, or is that something people actually do? And maybe I don't know about it.
By the end of the podcast, viewers were buzzing and many were thinking the same thing. This relationship is hanging by a thread. Ken's reaction, or again, lack of it, when Gypsy brought up her ex-husband Ryan Anderson was another glaring red flag. The moment his name came up, Ken's whole vibe changed. He got visibly tense, his foot started tapping, and it was like the mere mention of Ryan was enough to set him off. It makes you wonder, has Gypsy really moved on from Ryan like she claims? Or is Ken picking up on something deeper?
And I think that I really just wanted to have that, closure, that one conversation that kind of closed everything up. And we had that. Unfortunately, I feel like I'm in a place of higher healing and an elevated healing than he is right now. And so I've kept my distance.
With all the confusion around her pregnancy timeline, some people are even speculating that Gypsy might still be holding on to Ryan, just in case the baby turns out to be his. And honestly, can you blame them? There are so many unanswered questions that make this whole situation feel even messier than it already is. And then there's their social media behavior, which has raised a ton of eyebrows. If you look closely at their lives, the awkwardness is almost painful to watch. Remember that live session at the San Francisco airport? Oh boy, Ken looked straight up miserable. His body language screamed, "I do not want to be here." And it was hard to ignore. From the start, you could tell something was off. Ken was venting about how Gypsy made them get to the airport 3 hours early, and you could just feel his frustration boiling over.
Gypsy Rose Blanchard's baby daddy, Ken Urker, got called rude on a recent live stream she did from the airport.
How much more time do we?
An hour plus.
Hour?
Yeah, hour plus.
Yes.
See, I'm the kind of person who wants to get here 1 hour before takeoff, but you're the kind of person who wants to get here 3 hours. And this is exactly what happened.
Now, maybe Gypsy wanted to get there early for some attention, maybe hoping to get noticed by fans or even TMZ. But Ken, he wasn't having any of it. He seemed beyond annoyed and let his frustration slip when he complained about for having to sit around for hours before their flight. His tone was sharp, and when he dropped a curse word, it was clear that this wasn't just about the airport. This was about the entire relationship dynamic, and Ken was fed up. Gypsy tried to lighten the mood by suggesting they could go shopping while they waited, but that just made things worse. Ken snapped, "Who wants to go shopping at an airport?" His tone was biting, and it was like he had completely forgotten they were live.
But you could always go shopping at the little gift shop.
Who wants to go shopping at an airport? Who wants to spend 3 times the price on a...
Me. I like to.
Oh yeah? Where's your goods?
I didn't buy any.
Okay, that's right.
Well, I was hoping to find a chocolate frog somewhere in the terminal.
A chocolate frog.
I was...
So specific.
I know.
The viewers weren't shy about calling it out either. One commenter said, "Ken can't stand Gypsy," while another one pointed out there is no chemistry at all. And honestly, they were not wrong. The more you watch their interactions, the clearer it becomes that something is seriously wrong. Ken walks ahead of Gypsy, never beside her, and seems completely disconnected from her. Whether it's their awkward public appearances or the fact that Ken is waiting for DNA results before making any real decisions, it all adds up to one thing. The relationship is in big trouble. Big trouble.
Apparently, normal people people who are not chronically online don't know about her, so they don't know who Ken is. And so the valet people and the people that work at where she was staying literally thought Ken was her security guard. He was walking so far ahead of her. Even people who don't know anything about her were like, there was no chemistry, there was no affection, there was nothing. One person I talked to even thought he was her brother. Now that's embarrassing.
Rumor has it that even Gypsy isn't happy. There's been talk that she's been texting Ryan, complaining about how mean Ken is to her. If that's true, it's just more evidence that this relationship is falling apart. They're both clearly dissatisfied, and it's only a matter of time before something gives. So, loves, what do you think? Is Gypsy really trying to manipulate Ken into staying, or is she genuinely trying to give him an out? And do you think Ken will stick around once those DNA results come back? Let me know what you think about their body language and behavior. Are they both playing balls for the public, or is there something deeper going on? That's it for today, guys. Catch you next time.